Hey everyone, it's Stephanie, and you're tuned in to the review of Married at First Sight, Happily Ever After, Season 1, Episode 3, I believe. So last night was a pretty good episode. They're back from their trip. We'll just jump right in because I think a lot of good stuff happened yesterday. I'll start with Anthony and Ashley. So Anthony and Ashley kind of go back and forth between the, control and the communication issues. And Ashley is the one who tends to exert more control or take more control. And Anthony's more laid back, but you can tell that he's kind of, frustrated at times, which I think at some point we have to take some accountability. Anthony kind of has to step it up in that way, but he's such an easygoing, loving guy. You could tell that he just really doesn't want to. But I will say that I was really upset watching, this reveal. Okay, so backstory. Ashley knows the sex of their baby, which is, it's a girl, and he didn't know. And he set this date, September 1st, so random, no rhyme or reason, but he set this date of when he wanted to know. And he was adamant about that. And she just was like a dog with a bone. She could not let it go. And I love Ashley, but she pissed me off last night. She couldn't let it go that she knew and he didn't know. And she kept rolling it into this, I can't hold a lie. Girl, I'm pretty sure you have. But I can't keep a lie from him, and it's hard, and I want to plan together. She just wouldn't give him this moment. And so they celebrate their 2-year anniversary at a dinner, and they exchange gifts, and, he gives her this thoughtful gift, the spa services for the rest of the pregnancy, because she's been, talking about being in pain, which is so thoughtful and sweet, and who doesn't love the spa? And she gives him this gift, and it ends up being a onesie that says Daddy's Girl or something like that in pink. And he sat there for a second, kind of realizing, oh, it's a girl. And then he got emotional, and it was sweet to see, but I was so pissed for him because she took that moment from him. And she so selfishly made it about what she wanted for him. And she just couldn't wait. She wanted to plan. She's the planner, and it's all about her and what she wants and how she wants it, and she just couldn't give him that. And it's really just disrespectful. She couldn't respect a boundary that he set. And they took a class where they were learning how to strap the baby in and all this stuff, and they were talking about her patience in general, and she was kind of saying, I don't have patience with adults, but a child is different. And you could see him sitting there like, oh, okay, what if you say so. He literally said something like that. But you just don't change overnight. These are habits that you create. So I just see that trickling into parenthood, which will completely create a lot of animosity and resentment and a lot of explosion, because at some point it's going to get old. When you have a yelling baby, and you're tired and you're sleep deprived and you just don't know what you're doing, and you're supposed to be working together, and this one person is telling you what to do and how to do it, and does that in all aspects of life, it's going to get really frustrating. I just wish I would have, and this is where I love that the experts are involved, but then I feel like they're not involved enough. And they can't be everywhere at all times, but there's some missing elements, because I want to push them to be honest about what's going on. Anthony, how do you really feel? Does that really upset you? Not frustrate you? Doesn't it piss you off that she does that? How does that look long term? Let's play that out. It's not just enough to say you're controlling and he's not, and you guys are gonna have to work together. Let's play that out. Let's play how that looks. When you get to a point where you won't even want to talk to each other, because you already know what the other person's going to say, how they're going to do something, it's going to irritate you, and that just becomes this snowball of things. So I really hope that they work on that some kind of way, because it was just really icky to watch. I just couldn't believe that she so selfishly did that. It was just about her. And knowing that he wanted to wait, and she just didn't care. I don't buy the excuse that she couldn't keep a lie. That's crap. I couldn't buy anything else. It's just, that's what she wanted. And I was just oh, he got the short end of the stick on that. So that was Ashley and Anthony. Their issues are pretty standard. I feel like a lot of couples kind of struggle with communication. So hats off to doing this show and exposing themselves. But I would love to see Anthony maybe step up or challenge her a little bit and stick to it, So even maybe not at that moment because he was emotional and he found out about his daughter, but I would have circled back later on in a not so feel good moment and been like, listen, that was, you know, I'm so excited and I'm focused on being a great dad, but like, here's a boundary that I set and you completely disrespect it. I don't even think she thinks about it that way. And I think if somebody puts it in her face, yeah, she'll get upset. She won't like that. But, you know, you need to start holding up the mirror. Otherwise, some people just never see. So that's Ashley and Anthony. Let's see, Jephte and Shawniece. So Shawniece is, I think, 34 weeks at this point. So they're going to doctor's appointments. They're trying to figure out where they are. They're still working on things. I'm still getting the same rhetoric from Jephte that he's trying and, you know, he wants to not see his you know, Shawniece as the mother of his baby first, but as the you know, the wife, and he's always working on being a good husband, and he doesn't have to work on being a dad. All that stuff is kind of concerning because the way that you even got into being a dad is by being a husband. And I'm not saying that's the only way. Specifically for Jephte, the way that you're able to be a father is because you had a wife first, and she's like now this roadblock between you and the baby. It's just like, you know, I don't want to hear about trying anymore. I want to see it and see the authentic intimacy and attempts. And, you know, even with, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just resentful watching this, but like even the intimacy and touching her stomach, like that's not even intimate to me. That's like, it's like, you know, she's like the third wheel on the date. Like he wants to connect with the baby, not really her. And, you know, like touch her in a way that is all about her, you know, not about the baby, and do both. But really, when we're talking about working on the marriage and working on the husband aspect, you know, touch her in a way that is synonymous to her as a woman, and intimate, you know, and not necessarily geared towards the baby, and she just happens to be there. So, you know, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really excited about him right now. She's still trying as well. You know, her guard is up, understandably so. She doesn't trust him. She shouldn't. You know, they have dinner with her mom and his mom, and, you know, Laura, is her mom named Laura too? I think it is. I'm not sure, but I think it is. I think both of their moms' name is Laura, if I'm not mistaken. I know for sure his mom's name is Laura. But her mom, you know, gets very emotional because, you know, Jephte didn't do the right thing. You know, he got caught up in whatever he was getting caught up with, and he says it so casually. You know, she took the rings and I was messing with the other girls. Like, are we in 8th grade? Like, what? Messing with the other girls? You're a married man. It's more than that. And she was very emotional because she came to love Jephte as a son-in-law, and that's her daughter, you know, so you're hurting her daughter. Like, that's my child. So that was really frustrating for her to see, and she expressed that at the table. And then, you know, Jephthe's mom jumps in, and I know that's his mom, but she jumps in and basically says, you know, Jephte is a good man. And I feel like she was trying to save him, but mom, chill out. Because Shawniece is your daughter now as well. And so if you're about the marriage, then you're not siding with your son just because he's your son. And that was frustrating for me to watch because he's not a good man in this situation. Like a son and a man, a son and a husband are often two different people. You don't have the same dynamic with your mama as you have with me. That's just not what's happening. So for her to kind of dismiss the obvious hurt and inappropriate behavior that happened just to kind of run in and say Jephte is a good man, I literally was like, no, he's not. He might be a good son, but he's not a good man to his wife. And you need to support him in becoming that, or working on that, or valuing himself and letting him and what he values be an extension to his wife, not just, you know, running to save your son who really doesn't need to be saved. Right now, he made his bed. He's laid in it several times with several people. Like, he needs to just sit there. So I didn't like seeing that, you know, because I'm seeing Shawniece just sit there and listen to that, you know, and you're sitting there with your mother-in-law, and you know you can't really talk like you want to, but it's like, really, lady? Like, you're really gonna jump in for your son right now when I'm sitting here this far from the table because I'm a million weeks pregnant and he's not even, you know, so I didn't like that dynamic. You know, I really felt when her mom was hurt, and she still, even though she could have like X'd him out because he pretty much dogged her daughter, she still found a way to express pain because she does care about him and she cares about the union. So it's really important when you're sitting with people and you have insight or you're receiving insight. It's not about somebody who's just team you or team your husband or team your wife or team you. It's about team us, because that's what it is right now. And so they have to support the marriage, not just whoever their family member may be, whoever their friend may be, or whatever the case may be, because, you know, two really does become one. So that's Shawniece and Jephte. I don't know if I missed anything else, but that is what I remember about last night. So we'll see how they go. Last but certainly not least, Danielle and Bobby. So Danielle and Bobby are talking about buying this house. Okay, let me go back a little bit. Pastor Cal meets with them, and Pastor Cal is still kind of trying to get them to just knock it off with the nonsense of this illusion of perfection. Like, clearly behind the scenes, you know, Danielle, I'm assuming, I'm making this up, but this is kind of what I feel about it, just because she seems to be the alpha. She says, we're not discussing certain things, we're not doing certain things, we're not showing certain things, and that's just what it is. Because Bobby comes from she comes from a very, like, closed off, not so close family, and we see Bobby come from a very loving, close-knit, sharing type of family. So clearly his natural inclination is to share and be open, and I think he would have been just different with a different woman. And Bobby is also very malleable, so he creates his flexibility around the type of woman and does everything, and that's an issue in itself, but I digress. And he doesn't, and it's fine if he was getting, you know, reciprocity and someone who poured into him as much as he poured into her, but he's not. So that's where the problem is. So Pastor Cal gives them this exercise because they're talking about buying a new house. Mind you, the irony is they're talking about buying a new house, and then they're kind of discussing one of the requirements is, can we afford it on one income because she may stay home? So I literally laughed out loud when I saw that, because I remember all through the Dallas season her saying, you know, she'd kill herself if she was at home with kids all day, or she could never do that, or she likes to earn her own money, or she hopes he doesn't have a problem with that because she's very independent. And, you know, 5 days into pregnancy, she is ready to be a stay-at-home mom. So I'm like, okay, girl. And she's saying that she will be uncomfortable because she's used to making her own money, but I don't think she will. I think that as long as Bobby says yes, and as long as the orders go through or Amazon Prime shows up, as long as nothing changes with whatever she has going on, I don't think she'll be uncomfortable at all not making money. Because I think in some ways she'll still control it. So Bobby obviously is more practical, and he's looking at things from a very, like, do we need to do this right now? You know, we just got married, you're in early pregnancy. Do we need to have all these major changes? You know, and I picked up on the fact when he was sitting with his family that he's only had this house for like a year and a half. They've been married for 6 months. So, you know, everything is new. She keeps talking about storage. Okay. I don't think you necessarily buy a new home for storage unless you're like, hey, we need more rooms, but not storage. Like, go to IKEA or go to Target and get a rack or something. So it came off so asinine and so selfish to me. But as they were visiting homes, of course, she was very oblivious to, and I know that people will have like things that they find important, but there was just no awareness to what things cost and the practicality of it. And I think when you're not contributing, you should be even more practical, because you now know that you're going to put this only on your spouse. There's no concern for that. Everything is like basically what I want, what I don't want. And you know, Pastor Cal gives them this exercise to put into order 4 things that they, 4 things, I think it was area, size, style, and something else. But they basically had to match it up to see if they found those same things at the same level of importance. None of it worked out. That was beautiful, because I'm like, here is a concrete thing where you guys are not matching up, and you can't really sugarcoat it. Although they did. She said, oh, okay, we'll talk about it, you know, but really she's not going to talk about it. She doesn't really care because she wants what she wants. They end up having dinner with Bobby's family, And Bobby's family is very close-knit. They talk about a lot of stuff. You can tell that they're like in each other's business, you know? It goes from being close-knit to like, okay, this is, you know, y'all have a lot of opinions. But it's all from a good place, loving. I think it probably could be a bit much at sometimes. But Bobby only gets rattled because he can tell that Danielle doesn't like it. But I think if she was okay with it, he would be okay with it. What is the most concerning that came up was, I assumed that because they're now in a 3-bedroom home, I assumed that they were going to get at least a 4-bedroom. So they're talking about all these things, and she eventually says, you know, we ideally would like to get a 4-bedroom home, but we're probably going to get a 3 to stay in our budget. That is the dumbest thing I've heard, y'all. Like, that is the dumbest thing that I've heard. So you're basically going to get something that's very similar to what you're in now. Like, with all the changes and with the fact that you may not continue working, why would you not just make what you have work and make room for that? I mean, that's what people do all the time. People just don't get up and just get a new house, and it doesn't even make sense. If you get a new house, make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. She does not care, and that's the problem. It's just so selfish. It's just motivated by what she wants. It's very self-serving. And I think the true test of their relationship will be when Bobby, you know, I don't want to say puts his foot down. That sounds so archaic, but sets a boundary. Like, we, you know, wives and husbands, we both need to set boundaries about certain things. There are things that are negotiable. You know, there are things that are like, okay, this is not going to happen. This does not make sense for the family. Like, what's the goal? If we have a goal, does this fit with the goal that we have? And if it doesn't, then it just doesn't happen, whether we want it to or not. And that's just being an adult, and that's just being smart. So you can tell that Bobby does not want to move. He's moving along because he wants to make her happy. And he even says something along the lines of, you know, I just want to make her happy, so I'll figure it out. You know, you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Like, Bobby is drowning, but, you know, he keeps throwing the life raft back out of the water as we throw it in. So he'll just have to learn. And that's just what that is. Because at this point, it's been long enough. We only see a small portion of their lives. We don't even know what else. But if who she is on TV translates to an even worse version or less flexible version, or she's so happy because she pretty much gets what she wants. And Pastor Cal even says that with her. Does he push back on anything? And she couldn't think of anything. And she laughs nervously and says, well, you know, I think he does, but like, I can't remember right now. Listen, if I have an example for something that happens consistently, it's very quick for me to come up with something because there's nothing. And she's trying to save face by saying, oh, he does, but he really doesn't. That dynamic will get very old. And I don't even think they're in a pink cloud, because the pink cloud is that honeymoon phase that's fun and new. I think they're in like just a state of inauthenticity. Just on Bobby's end, but on the whole relationship, because Bobby is kind of like, you know, turning down the temperature every time he probably wants to explode or is just going along with her. It makes the whole relationship inauthentic, because now she thinks she's with somebody who never says no, or who doesn't have a mind of his own, or doesn't feel like certain things should be a certain way. And the same way that she feels like things should be a certain way, or she wants what she wants, he has every right to feel that way. And then, ding, compromise. They don't have to compromise. She doesn't even know to compromise because he never says no. So that's really, really concerning. And that's another situation. And I don't know how much the experts can do. So that's another thing. You know, we don't know what rules there are, what stipulations they're told they can and can't do. But I would be a lot more direct in saying, like, let's play this out. We're going to play this game out and see how that goes and what this builds. Like, I just wouldn't be sugarcoating and saying, well, this is not going to work out and eventually it'll be frustrating. Let's play out how this works. Let's see how ugly it can get, because that's where you're headed. And he may not be saying it, and you may not care because it's convenient for you, but that will get old quick. And now you throw a baby into that, and that, you know, a baby is the quickest way to really see who somebody really is, and what you yourself are really made of. You don't really know until you have one. So that's my 2 cents on them. You know, I don't know. I see that they will stay together because I feel like Bobby Dodd has found the one, and that's it. And he is going to stick with her, and she is just gonna, they're either gonna, you know, figure things out, and he'll start to set boundaries and require just anything, not even more, but require anything, or he won't. And that will be the life that they lead. A lot of people do that. It is what it is. So that's pretty much it. Don't forget to subscribe. Like, I know I said a mouthful on this episode, but I think there was a lot of important things to talk about. Subscribe, like, and comment, and I will see you guys next week. Everyone have a wonderful week.